What's up, guys? Paul from Paul Sklar Fit. I want to address what I call the elephant in the room right now. And I told you I'd be going through all my comments, and I certainly did. And I get to a point, when I'm looking at comments and I see pretty nasty accusations about TRT and steroids and PEDs. And, I've seen these for years and I've addressed them. Obviously, y'all know I've taken a blood test, but there are a lot of you that are new. You don't realize that, yes, I was called out and took a blood test within a day and a half of being called out, so that obviously my blood work could not be manipulated. Everything came out right. It actually made it on Joe Rogan's show. Derek from More Plates, More Dates. I got him all the results. He was the one who initially called me out. And we went through this whole thing. But obviously, as time goes along, there are going to be more people that haven't seen that, don't understand my background, don't understand how I go about things, the way that I think about fitness and exercise and PEDs. TRT, which of course is probably what I get accused of the most, TRT in and of itself doesn't bother me. But what I think is dangerous is that you have people that are accusing me of taking TRT. I've got very, very normal, healthy testosterone levels for someone that does what I do and has lived a life that I have lived and the way that I live it daily. I'm not the guy who sits at a desk from 9 to 5. I'm active, out on the floor, lifting weights, picking them up, putting them in all day long, and then working out on top of that. And then on top of that, I've got more video to film, all exercises. I do everything myself. So I'm not your typical 51-year-old. Your typical 51-year-old maybe has given up. Maybe got married, had kids, stopped taking care of himself, doesn't care to take care of himself, or just it's easier not to. And that's not for me. So when I read someone accuse me of TRT and say, well, that's the only way that you could possibly look like you do at your age, it's physically impossible, there's no chance on this planet, it bugs me. But at the same time, I understand that these are people that really can't do it for themselves. They don't understand what steroids look like. I'm going to go through some of these comments today, and I think they're fantastic. But at the same time, so I think about these comments often as compliments, but they're also obviously attacks. But when someone says to me, you're doing steroids, you're doing PEDs, you're doing TRT, and I know that I'm not, I look at it and go, all right, there's a compliment. But on the same hand, I don't want anyone to get the idea that I achieved my physique through any type of PED use. Now, PED use, I consider testosterone replacement therapy. I consider that performance-enhancing drugs when it goes above and beyond medical conditions that are caused by low testosterone. Now, so there are dangers to having low testosterone, and there are certainly dangers to having high testosterone. So for someone like me, who's got higher testosterone, I'm on the higher end of my age group, someone like me that decides that they want to start taking testosterone replacement, I would consider that abuse. It's certainly abuse. If I have very normal, healthy testosterone levels, I'm not having any medical problems, there are no medical conditions that stop me from doing anything, there's absolutely no reason for me to do it, and it is dangerous. So if I start to increase my testosterone levels way above and beyond what they are right now, it becomes use for anabolic purposes. Yeah, does everybody want to have muscles? Sure. You give a regular 51-year-old guy who's got pretty good testosterone levels extra testosterone, and it's a recipe for potential disaster. You got heart attack, stroke. I know people personally. I have clients that have used testosterone replacement and everything else. It's one of those things where, hey, I sent my blood work into to a company and they sent it back. They said, I'm deficient in this. My testosterone is low. I need HCG. I need DECA. I need testosterone. I need all this stuff, when obviously that's steroids for adults. So a lot of these companies that are selling testosterone replacement and anti-aging, to me, it's just steroids for adults. I'm going to tell you this. So I am an entrepreneur. I've always been since I was a kid. It's just something that I've done. So if I was smart and I really was taking testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, if I was smart, I would align with a company, wouldn't I? I would align with a company and I'd actually try to make some money. I'd sell it to you. I'd say, yeah, I'm taking testosterone replacement. This is the only way you're going to be able to do it at my age. There's no other way to do it. If you take this stuff that I'm going to sell you, that I'm going to get commission on and a percentage of, or maybe even more, yeah, you're probably going to buy it. You're going to go, all right, this guy looks like this. He takes testosterone. That's how he did it. I'm in. But I will not do that. I will not do that because I'm not on testosterone replacement or anything else. So why would I not do that if I was actually using those types of products? Steroids, TRT. There's absolutely no reason on this planet. But what I do know is that people that take performance-enhancing drugs, steroids, they will not admit to you one bit. They'll tell you they do cocaine, they do heroin, they do every other drug on the planet before they'll tell you that they actually do steroids. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a character flaw. I don't know if they're not allowed to. I've never heard bodybuilders flat out say, people that have won Mr. Olympia and everything else, yeah, I took this steroid, I did all this to achieve Mr. Olympia and Mr. Universe. Maybe I'm just in the dark, but I've never actually heard anybody come out and flat out say it. I've seen documentaries on a lot of different people, right? And these documentaries, they talk about bodybuilding, all this stuff. Steroids never comes up. So people that look at that, regular people, they may go, well, I never thought about steroids and that, and maybe they're not taking steroids. But they'll look at me at age 51 and they'll go, he's definitely on TRT, he's definitely doing steroids. So it's kind of a double standard. But yeah, you got a lot of people in the fitness industry, that are very dishonest, but you also have a lot that are honest. One of the funniest comments that I always see, and it cracks me up every single time, he's got traps, and traps have these receptors for steroids and all that stuff. Guys, I have naturally decent traps, right? I think my chest sucks. What I've noticed, guys that take steroids, their chest looks like a shelf. It's this big chest. My chest is tiny compared to everything else. Yeah, I've got big traps. Big deal. Genetics, right? I probably could find someone in my family tree that has good traps. My kids have good traps, all of them. I got 5 kids. My daughter even has good traps. Am I feeding them steroids and TRT? Of course not. Traps, probably like most other muscles, can be very genetic, but receptors for steroids and TRT, yeah. So if I took TRT, it's going to go straight to my traps? Absolutely not. At least in my opinion. I don't think it goes straight to your traps. If it did, then it's totally screwed with my chest. Completely screwed with my chest, and it didn't work in my chest. So somehow, the testosterone and the steroids is working up here, but it's not working here. Is that because I work my traps more and not my chest enough? Of course not. So when I see people and I read in these comments, yeah, he's definitely on TRT, look at his traps, that's the indication that someone's on steroids. For me, it's not. I look at someone's chest, I look at the caps on the shoulders. If you look at somebody on steroids, right? Big caps on the shoulders, big shelf on the chest, they just look massive. I'm 5'8", and I've gotten this question a lot. How tall are you? How much do you weigh? I'm 5'8". I weigh 170 pounds on a regular basis, right? I've just started recently trying to eat more to bulk up. My son came home from college. He said, Dad, do it with me. I can't keep up with that kind of stuff. At 51 years old, I'm eating as much as I can. I just typically don't eat a lot. So, can I continue to build muscle at my age? It's really tailed off. I mean, this is probably as big as I'm going to get unless I start to eat a ton more food. I'm definitely not going the testosterone route unless I have medical conditions. And, there's a stigma that's out there, right? No one wants to say they're on testosterone replacement. If you have medical conditions that require testosterone replacement, go for it. Do it. If that's for you, do it. I don't have those conditions, and I'm kind of glad I don't. So, I mean, if I did have those conditions, would I entertain the possibility of it? Sure. I know there are a lot of different ways that testosterone is administered. I have no desire to stick a needle in my body on a daily basis. I don't know about milligrams and all that stuff, how much you take and blah, blah, blah. Thankfully, I was never around that culture. But yeah, no, if it's for you and you need it, take it. I am not discounting the benefits of it. I went to my doctor, and I've said this before, and I went in, I said, I'm fatigued all the time, I'm tired, I wake up exhausted. Maybe it's my testosterone, what do you think? And he looked at me and he said, if you're growing facial hair, yeah, I've got some facial hair. He said, if you're growing facial hair and you still can grow facial hair, most likely it's not your testosterone. He said, most likely you've got sleep apnea. Of course, I looked at that and I said, I don't have sleep apnea. Sure enough, I do. I've got mild sleep apnea. It has nothing to do with anything else other than the fact that my tongue is too wide for my jaw. So when I lay back, my tongue drops back into my throat, cuts off my air passage, right? So I wake up about 13 times an hour. I've tried the CPAP, doesn't work for me, looks ridiculous. Getting fitted for a mouth guard to hopefully bring my jaw forward and allow me to breathe better when I sleep. But you know, a lot of guys might have used that as an excuse, not even asked their doctor, just gone straight to testosterone, assuming that just because they were tired, just because they were fatigued, it has to be low testosterone. You have to explore all avenues before you go that route, because again, if your testosterone is normal or even high and you start taking extraneous testosterone or exogenous testosterone, you're going to end up in trouble. I can look my wife in the eyes, my kids, my friends, my colleagues, and I can tell you flat out, I have never taken a performance-enhancing drug in my entire life, nor do I take it now. I consider performance-enhancing drugs TRT. When used for medical purpose, I don't consider that performance-enhancing drugs. So when people bring me pictures, you know, is this guy on steroids? Is this guy on steroids? You know, I look at a few factors, right? I look at certainly the chest. It's the first thing I look at. If they've got this chest that's got, you know, massive striations, kind of looks like a racehorse, right? Big shelf on the top, right? Real hard for a guy my age, right, to grow a shelf. I got to flex up. It's flat here, right? I can go and touch my bones up here. I work as hard as I possibly can on my chest. It just doesn't really grow. It's my Achilles heel, right? I've worked on this forever. I don't bench press much weight. You know, I have to go for more volume. My shoulders can't handle it. Never have been able to. If you put me right next to somebody who's yoked up on steroids, yeah, I'm going to look tiny, and you're going to look at it and go, huh, I had no idea. But if you see me, and you see me on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube, Shorts, all this stuff, right? I'm cut. So cut guys look bigger and better on camera. Plain and simple. They look bigger and better on camera. So my son outweighs me by at least 15 pounds. He's a lot bigger than me. His shoulders are out to here, a lot broader, right? So when we're next to each other in public, I'm looking at him going, man, I look tiny next to this guy. Then we take a picture, right? Take a look at the picture here, right? We take a picture because of my definition, I look bigger than him. He's got more size, he's got more girth, his chest is bigger, his shoulders bigger, back bigger. But when you look at a picture, right? Take a look at this picture. You look at that and I've got more definition. So on camera and on video, it looks better. It also, to me, looks better in real life, right? So I've always wanted to stay lean. I've never let the fat accumulate. People cannot understand or fathom how that's possible at my age. It's not like I picked up a weight yesterday, right? I've been doing this since I was a young boy. Most people, there's no way that they could have the consistency that I have had since I was a little boy. This is not something I picked up last week, last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? I was a professional endurance athlete, right? I was a world-class endurance athlete. And when I finally stopped competing in my early 30s, around age 31, I picked up weights. I'd been lifting weights since I was a kid, since I started playing football, right? That was the big thing we did. We lifted weights. So I lifted weights all throughout college at Wake Forest. Did I get any bigger? No, because I was doing ultra endurance type training, right? We were training like mad. The workouts we did were insane, right? And I loved it because that's how I go. That's how my brain is wired. I love that kind of stuff. And there's a reason why I've taken that, and it's just been, I've taken that into my life, and it's always been a part of my life. So there's no other way for me. I can't look at myself in the mirror and all of a sudden one day just develop this big gut and be comfortable with myself. That's me. Other people might be comfortable with that. Not this guy. It's just the way I go. I can't help it, right? I'm wired that way. And when people talk about genetics, genetics is all of that, right? It's the ability to make choices and to go out, genetically predisposed for hard work, right? Hard physical work. Some people are genetically predisposed for academics. Some people predisposed for physical work. Some people both. But for me, I love physical work. And I've got this image of what I want to look like. I've never lost that image, and I've taken it with me since I was a young boy. I said I'm going to probably die. I'll be in the coffin, and I'll be ripped and shredded, you know, at whatever age. But I will tell you, I will not die an untimely death from performance-enhancing drugs. That will not be me. You're not going to see me be the guy that all of a sudden one day he goes into liver failure, kidney failure, has a heart attack, has a stroke from the stuff that he was taking. And you'll see people that take that stuff and they don't care. My friend has a friend who at age 26 just had a massive heart attack because of all the steroids that he's taking. He recovered. He said, I don't care. I'm going to continue to take this stuff. And if I go out like that, so be it. You look at Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman doesn't regret a day in his life, and that's fantastic. He can barely walk now. He struggles, but if you ask him, do you regret anything? And you can see it in his documentary. He doesn't regret a day, and I think that's fantastic. He did what he wanted to do, and he did it his way, just like I do everything my way. This is how I want to live my life, but I don't want people to think that it is lived like this due to any type of steroid, performance-enhancing drug, TRT, growth hormone, the whole thing, right? You see people on growth hormone, face gets big and expands. I got a normal sized face, right? I've got a beard. Without my beard, I mean, this is the size of my face, right? My stomach's not distended and bloated. You may see muscles on my abdominals, yeah, and if I'm doing an overhead press, does it stick out? Sure, because I'm bracing with it. But when someone looks at it and goes, he's on steroids because of this, look at that, he's got growth hormone belly. Does this look like growth hormone belly? No, it is not. This is the way I am genetically predisposed. My father had about the same physique that I had. Not as good, but about the same physique that I had. And I always said, you know, when he got married and he had kids, I've got 3 brothers, and he worked tons of jobs, he provided for us, and he let himself go, right? And I looked at him, and he ended up, you know, getting a big belly, and I said, I don't want that to be me. I don't want that to happen to me. So I do checks every single day, right? I want to make sure that I am exactly where I want to be. I'm not obsessive about it, but I want to make sure that this is where I want to be. I'm not going to have to take other stuff to make that happen. So more power to all those people that take steroids and don't think about it, don't think about the consequences. I've got children. I want to be around. I want to see all of them graduate school. I want to see them get married. I want to see my grandkids, and I don't want to be that guy that blows out his heart one day while he's at the gas station pumping gas because he's put too much crap into his body. That's me. That's who you're looking at. That's who you're following. That's who you're subscribed to. If you're the guy who wants a guy who's on steroids and a guy who's on TRT, you need to go subscribe or follow somebody else, because I'm not that guy. I hope this cleared up a lot of information for some of you. Now, a lot of you are going to say, he's BSing. He's still on the stuff. He's never going to admit it. The rest of you are going to understand that this is who I am and I'm not on anything. But either way, I'll be back next week. I'm going to show you a great workout. Sorry I don't have a workout for you this week, but I really wanted to get this elephant out of the room. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next week.